Welcome back to Secrets Exposed. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. You're the reason these stories worth sharing. Tell us where you're watching from, city or country. We're amazed by how far these tales reach. To get daily new and amazing stories for you, subscribe our channel and press bell icon. All right, let's begin. Rain pounded the highway as Captain Ethan Cole's pickup groaned up the final hill toward the cul-de-sac. Streetlights bled through the windshield like smudged halos. He'd pictured this moment every night for a year. Sarah on the porch, Liam sprinting across the lawn, the sound of small sneakers on wet pavement. But the house stood dark. No porch light, no laughter, just a mailbox stuffed with flyers, edges curled by rain. Ethan killed the engine. The ticking of cooling metal was the only sound. His duffel hit the ground with a thud that echoed too loudly for a homecoming. Inside, the air felt wrong, stale, like a place that hadn't been lived in for months. The faint scent of Sarah's lavender detergent lingered beneath the dust. Family photos still hung on the wall, but their frames were crooked, as if someone had yanked them down and changed their mind halfway through leaving. Sarah, Liam. The call bounced through empty rooms and came back hollow. He flicked the light switch. Nothing. The power was off. Each step down the hallway deepened the dread pressing against his ribs. Liam's bedroom door was open, the space stripped bare except for a few Lego bricks scattered in the corner. On the window ledge, a drawing lay curled under a thin film of dust. Ethan's fingers trembled as he lifted it. Crayon lines. A small boy crying beside a tall figure with a belt. Beneath it, shaky letters. "Help me, Dad." The paper slipped from his hands. The sound of it hitting the floor was louder than thunder. He stumbled backward, pulse racing. It couldn't be real. Liam loved drawing superheroes, not nightmares. Ethan dropped to his knees, scanning for clues. There were faint pencil marks on the back, scribbles, maybe a name. Mr. Grady's house. Outside, lightning flashed. For a split second, the living room window reflected his face. Pale, hollow-eyed, unrecognizable. He tore through drawers and cabinets, searching for anything that explained the emptiness. Mail stacked 2 months deep, an unopened electricity bill, a half-written note from Sarah. "Ethan, I can't do this alone anymore. Liam needs stability. Please understand. No signature, no address. Just hopelessness pressed into paper." The front door creaked. A gust of rain carried in the faint perfume of lilacs, Sarah's scent. For a moment he imagined she might appear, towel in hand, smile apologetic. But the doorway remained empty. Across the street, a curtain stirred. Mrs. Avery, his elderly neighbor, peered out. He stepped into the rain, knocked on her door, voice shaking. "Mrs. Avery, do you know where they went?" Her eyes widened. "Oh, Ethan, I thought you weren't coming home. Sarah moved out months ago. Said a friend from Liam's school was helping her. A teacher. Mr. Grady, I think." Ethan's heartbeat thundered louder than the storm. He looked back at the dark outline of his house, once full of warmth, now just a hollow shell and a drawing that screamed for help. Lightning split the sky. In its flash, the paper on the floor glowed for an instant, those 4 words burning into his mind. "Help me, Dad." And Ethan knew, with the clarity of a soldier spotting movement in the dark, that this was no ordinary homecoming. It was the beginning of a war he hadn't trained for. The next morning broke gray and cold. Ethan hadn't slept. He'd spent the night sitting on the living room floor with the drawing spread beside a mug of untouched coffee. Dawn turned the dust in the air to drifting gold, like the ghosts of everything that used to fill this house. He'd gone through every cabinet, every photo album. Nothing said where Sarah and Liam had gone. Only bills, outdated school letters, and that note, "Liam needs stability." Now, with daylight crawling through the blinds, the word stability felt like an insult. A knock startled him. When he opened the door, Mrs. Avery stood clutching a pie dish wrapped in foil. Her eyes, small behind round glasses, scanned his face. "You didn't sleep," she said softly. "Where are they, Mrs. Avery?" She hesitated. "Your wife came by about 6 months ago. Said she was renting a place near the elementary school. A man used to drive them, Mr. Grady. He works there." Ethan leaned on the doorframe. The name again. Mr. Grady. The same one on the back of the drawing. Mrs. Avery added. He seemed polite, always smiling. But Sarah looked tired, like she wanted to say something and couldn't. Her words dug deep. He thanked her and closed the door gently. The pie cooled untouched beside the sink as he opened his laptop and typed Thomas Grady, Lincoln Elementary. The school website loaded slowly, the spinning wheel mocking his impatience. Finally, a staff photo appeared. Mr. Thomas Grady, Art Department. Gray at the temples, pleasant smile, the kind face parents trusted. Ethan stared until the screen blurred. He dialed the school's main office. I'm trying to reach Mr. Grady. This is Captain Cole. My son Liam was a student of his. A pause, then a careful voice. Mr. Grady took a leave of absence 2 months ago. Family reasons. Do you have a forwarding address? We're not allowed to share that, sir. The line clicked dead. Ethan exhaled through his teeth, military calm slipping into the old rhythm of problem solving. Observe, track, move. He grabbed his keys. The elementary school stood quiet behind locked gates, playground puddles shimmering from the rain. Through the fence he saw faded murals, children with paintbrushes, smiling suns, bright skies. One wall caught his eye, a mural of a family holding hands. The father figure was painted in uniform and crudely crossed out with red spray paint. He froze. It looked exactly like Liam's style. Childish, uneven lines, same red crayon shade. A chill cut through him. That evening he returned home and spread the mural photo beside the drawing. Same pattern. Same message. Dad, you're missing. He turned the paper again, studying the faint pencil marks. Beneath Mr. Grady's house, there was a smudge, almost an erased number. Under angled light, the digits re-emerged 48. A partial address. Ethan searched local directories until one popped up, 48, Riverside Lane, T. Grady. He sat back, heartbeat steadying into the kind of focus he hadn't felt since combat. The storm outside returned, tapping against the windows like impatient fingers. Tomorrow, he decided he'd go there. But before dawn, a new message arrived, a voice note from an unknown number. Sarah's voice, trembling, whispered, Ethan, if you're home, please listen carefully. Don't trust Grady. I made a mistake. He isn't who he says he is. Then silence. A soft intake of breath, and the message cut. Ethan stared at the phone until the screen dimmed. The rain intensified, drumming a war rhythm on the roof. He folded the drawing, slid it into his jacket pocket, and whispered to the empty room. I'm coming for you, Liam. Outside, thunder rolled like distant artillery, the sound of a new battle beginning. Dawn came in thin silver light. Ethan's truck rolled down Riverside Lane, tires whispering over rain-soaked asphalt. Number 48 sat at the end, a tidy bungalow behind a white picket fence. Wind chimes tinkled faintly, out of tune with the tension in his chest. From the outside, it looked harmless. Trimmed hedges, a bicycle leaning against the porch rail, flower pots lined with precision. Yet something about the orderliness felt rehearsed, like a set built for someone else's idea of home. Ethan parked across the street, watching through the drizzle. Curtains moved once, then stilled. A silhouette crossed the window, tall, deliberate. He walked to the door and knocked. A moment later, Thomas Grady opened it halfway. Mid-40s, neatly ironed shirt, polite smile that didn't reach his eyes. Captain Cole, he said, as if greeting a dinner guest. I was told you might come. Where's my son? Inside. Safe. Grady's voice was calm, measured. Sarah's resting. Please come in. Ethan stepped through the doorway. The house smelled of turpentine and rain. Canvases leaned against every wall. Children's paintings, bright and chaotic. At first they looked innocent, until he noticed a pattern. Every father figure in the drawings was shaded out, replaced by a taller man wearing glasses. Grady's glasses. Ethan's pulse thudded. Where are they? Grady gestured toward the kitchen. Tea. I didn't come for tea. The politeness cracked for an instant. Grady's jaw flexed, then relaxed again. You've been gone a long time, Captain. Families change. Ethan's fists clenched. That drawing Liam left, he was terrified of you. Grady tilted his head. Children dramatize. He missed you. I filled the space. Sarah agreed he needed stability. There was again that word. Stability. The same one from Sarah's note. Ethan scanned the room. Near the table, a small backpack. Liam's, faded blue with superhero patches. His throat tightened. You forged documents, didn't you? Grady opened a drawer, pulled out a folder, and laid it gently on the table like a trap card. Inside were adoption papers. Ethan's name blacked out. Grady's typed in crisp ink. She signed these, Grady said quietly. You were presumed dead for 6 months. The Army declared you missing. Ethan stared at the signatures, Sarah's handwriting shaky and real. The world tilted. You tricked her, he whispered. Grady smiled faintly. I helped her. And now, Captain, you need to leave before you undo what little peace remains. From down the hallway came a faint creak, small footsteps. Ethan's heart leapt. Liam. Grady turned sharply. He's sleeping. Don't wake him. But Ethan was already moving. He pushed past, calling softly, Buddy, it's me. The hallway ended at a closed door. He opened it. An empty bedroom, toys lined up with unnatural precision. On the wall, a fresh painting. A boy holding hands with 2 adults, his mother and a man with glasses. The father figure again crossed out. Ethan felt the air leave his lungs. Behind him, Grady's voice came low and steady. You see? He's chosen his family. Ethan turned. The calm mask was gone. What stared back at him was possession, not love. Somewhere outside, a car door slammed. Another presence arriving. Grady's smile vanished, replaced by a flicker of fear. Ethan didn't know yet who had come, but he knew this wasn't over. He stepped toward the door, every instinct awake. If my son's here, I'll find him. And for the first time, Grady's voice lost its composure. You already have. Ethan didn't move. Grady's words, you already have, hung in the air like a riddle. From outside came the distant crunch of tires on gravel, a car easing to a stop. Grady's eyes flicked toward the window, nervous now. Ethan stepped closer. Who's here? Grady straightened his collar. Perhaps you should answer that yourself. Before Ethan could react, the front door opened. Sarah stood framed in the rainlight. Her coat clung to her, hair damp, eyes wide with something between shock and guilt. Ethan, you found us. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. The only sound was the slow ticking of the clock over the mantel. Where's Liam? Ethan demanded. Sarah's gaze darted to Grady, then to the hallway. He's safe. Please, just listen first. Grady's calm returned, as if a switch had flipped. Sarah, it's all right. I was explaining that Ethan's presence could confuse the boy. He's adjusted beautifully. Ethan's laugh was low and disbelieving. Adjusted? He drew a man hitting him. Sarah flinched. No, that's not. He was terrified. Ethan cut in. He begged me for help. Her voice trembled. Ethan, you don't understand. Grady told me you were missing in action. He showed me the letter from the Army. I thought you were gone. Ethan froze. Letter. Grady's jaw tightened. She needed closure. Sarah pulled a folded paper from her bag, edges wrinkled. Ethan snatched it. The military header looked official, but the signature was forged. His name, Captain Ethan Cole, typed neatly under the words confirmed deceased. His vision tunneled. You forged my death notice? Grady's tone stayed measured. It kept them safe. You left them in uncertainty. I offered certainty. Ethan stepped forward. Grady took a half step back. Sarah whispered, Ethan, please don't. But Ethan stopped, not because he was afraid of Grady, but because a sound floated from down the hall. A door creaked, then a small voice. Mom. Liam appeared, pajama-clad, clutching a stuffed toy. The moment he saw Ethan, he froze. His eyes widened, filling with tears that spilled before he could speak. Daddy. Ethan's heart broke open. He dropped to one knee, arms out. Liam ran into them, sobbing. Behind them, Grady's calm shattered. Liam, come here. The boy clung tighter to his father. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. Ethan rose slowly, shielding his son. It's over, Grady. Grady's smile returned, thin and brittle. No, Captain. You're a ghost here. And ghosts don't get custody. Then he stepped back toward the kitchen, fingers brushing the counter where his phone lay. Ethan heard the faint click of a button. A red light blinked on the wall camera, recording. Grady's voice smoothed again. Self-defense footage, in case the violent soldier decides to lash out. Ethan froze, realization hitting. The whole scene, a trap. Grady wanted him to lose control, to look dangerous, unstable. Sarah saw it too. Her expression shifted from confusion to fear, not of Ethan, but of the man she trusted. "You set him up," she whispered. Grady's eyes narrowed. "You should have deleted that message, Sarah." The words struck like ice. Ethan remembered the voice note. So did she. Her hand moved slowly toward her phone. Lightning flared outside, washing the room in white. The three of them stood locked in a silent triangle. Truth, fear, and fury balanced on a knife edge. And in that flash of light, Ethan finally understood. The battle wasn't for survival anymore. It was for proof. Proof of who the real monster was. Thunder cracked above the house, shaking the window panes. Ethan's arm tightened around Liam while his mind raced. The blinking red light on the wall camera stared back at him like an accusation. Across the kitchen, Thomas Grady kept his phone angled slightly, screen glowing, voice smooth. "Sarah, call the police. Tell them your husband broke in and threatened us." Sarah didn't move. Her hand hovered at her pocket where her own phone hid. Her eyes darted between the two men, the one she'd once loved and the one she'd foolishly trusted. "Do it," Grady pressed, tone sharpening. "He's unstable. Look at him, he's armed, isn't he?" Ethan slowly spread his hands. "No weapon, Grady. Just truth." He took a breath, trying to steady the soldier in him that wanted to act. He couldn't. Not now. Every move was being filmed. Liam clung tighter. "Dad, I'm scared." "It's okay, buddy," Ethan murmured. "We're going home soon." The words made Sarah flinch. "Home," she whispered. "Where's home now?" Ethan met her eyes, softening. "Wherever he's safe." For the first time, Sarah seemed to see the exhaustion etched into his face. The sleepless nights, the hollow eyes of a man who'd fought too long. She looked at Grady, then back at Ethan, and she made a decision. Without warning, she slipped her phone from her coat pocket, thumb pressed to play. Grady's recorded voice filled the kitchen, the same voice that had terrified her in a silence weeks earlier. "Delete the message, Sarah. No one will believe you. You'll lose him, and I'll make sure Ethan's name is ruined if you talk." The message ended. The red recording light still blinked, but its power shifted instantly. Ethan stared at Grady. "You manipulated her. You forged my death notice. You." Grady's smile cracked. "You think anyone will care? A grieving teacher helping a widow? You're a ghost, Captain. The world already buried you." Ethan's voice dropped, cold and certain. "Then it won't matter when the police see your recording, will it?" Grady froze. Ethan nodded toward the small blinking light. "That camera you set up? It caught everything since you pressed record." For the first time, fear flickered in Grady's eyes. Sarah whispered, "You filmed your own confession." A distant siren wailed. Someone had already called for help, maybe a neighbor. Grady backed toward the door, eyes wild now. "You'll regret this, Sarah." Ethan stepped forward, calm but unrelenting. "No, we'll remember it." The door burst open. Two police officers stormed in, rain splattering their uniforms. They saw Grady's phone raised, Ethan standing still, Sarah clutching Liam. "Sir, step away," one officer ordered. Grady's voice trembled. "He broke in." Sarah cut him off. "Check the camera. It's all there." The officers exchanged glances, then turned to the blinking light. For the first time since Ethan had walked into that empty house, he felt air fill his lungs again. As Grady was led outside, his calm mask crumbled completely. "You can't erase me from that boy's life," he hissed. Ethan gathered Liam close. "No need. You were never in it." Rain hissed through the open door, washing away the last echo of Grady's voice. Sarah stood trembling, eyes glassy but clear. "I thought I'd lost you," she whispered. Ethan looked at the camera light, fading to black. "You almost did, but the truth always leaves a trail." Outside, police lights flashed against the wet pavement, painting the house red and blue, colors of warning and finally of safety. The storm cleared by morning, leaving the street washed clean but eerily silent. Blue police tape fluttered across Mr. Grady's perfect white fence. Inside, The air still smelled of rain and turpentine. Ethan sat on the back steps with a wool blanket around Liam, who slept against his chest. Every few minutes, Ethan checked the boy's breathing, as if to convince himself the nightmare was finally over. Across the lawn, Detective Ruiz zipped a folder shut. "We've got enough evidence," she said. "The forged letter, the camera footage, and Sarah's recording. It'll hold." Ethan nodded, exhaustion sinking through every muscle. "What about Sarah? We'll need her full statement. She's shaken, but she'll recover." He watched Sarah through the open doorway. She sat at the kitchen table, hands clasped around a cup of untouched tea. The police light strobed faintly across her face, red, then blue, then pale again. When Ruiz left, silence filled the house. The only sound was the slow drip of water from the porch eaves. Ethan stood in the doorway. "You should sleep." Sarah shook her head. "I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I hear him. He said you'd never come back. He told Liam you forgot us." Ethan knelt beside her. "He wanted you isolated. That's how men like him work. Find fear, then feed it." Tears welled, slipping down her cheeks. "I signed those papers, Ethan. I almost gave him our son." He reached for her trembling hands. "You believed I was gone. That's not betrayal, that's grief." He took advantage of it. For a long moment, neither spoke. The kitchen clock ticked toward noon. Liam stirred on the couch, mumbling, "Daddy?" Ethan crossed to him, smoothing his hair. "Right here, buddy." Liam's eyes blinked open. "Can we go home now?" Ethan glanced at Sarah. She whispered, "Home's gone." He looked around. The sterile order, the framed drawings that now felt sinister. "Then we'll make a new one." Hours later, after the officers left and the house quieted, Ethan walked the hallway alone. He paused at the child's room, the one that had been staged for someone else's idea of family. On the wall, among the painted smiles, one new drawing caught his eye, a small figure in a uniform standing beneath the sunrise. It hadn't been there before. He frowned, stepping closer. The crayon lines were unmistakably Liam's, but across the bottom was a second set of handwriting, shakier, Sarah's. "For the man who came back." He folded the picture carefully and slid it into his jacket. Outside, the wind carried the faint echo of church bells from downtown. Sarah appeared beside him, coat pulled tight. "The police want us to stay somewhere safe tonight." Ethan nodded. "We will." She hesitated. "Do you still believe we can be a family again?" He looked toward the horizon where sunlight broke through the thinning clouds. "We already are. We just forgot for a while." They started toward the truck, Liam's small hand gripping his mother's, his other wrapped around Ethan's fingers. For the first time in a long time, Ethan didn't feel like a soldier coming home to a war. He felt like a father taking the first step out of one. But as he turned the key in the ignition, he noticed something on the passenger seat. A small black flash drive, half hidden beneath Liam's backpack. He frowned. "Sarah, did you leave us here?" She shook her head. Ethan stared at it, the storm light flickering across its surface. A label in neat handwriting read, "Backup footage, do not delete." The engine idled. Rain began again, softer this time, tapping against the windshield like a warning. Ethan pocketed the drive. Somewhere inside him, the soldier stirred again. The war, it seemed, wasn't finished yet. Night settled over the motel on the edge of town. A single neon sign buzzed outside, throwing red light through the window. Inside, Ethan, Sarah, and Liam sat in silence, the low hum of the air conditioner filling the space where words should have been. The flash drive lay on the table between them like a loaded question. Sarah stared at it. "Maybe it's nothing," she whispered. Ethan shook his head. Grady labeled everything for a reason. He slid the drive into his laptop. The screen flickered, then filled with a folder of dated video files. The first one opened automatically, grainy footage from a fixed camera in what looked like Grady's living room. Sarah drew in a breath. She was on the screen, sitting on the couch, face pale, hands clasped in her lap. Grady sat opposite her, calm and patient. "Grady, on video, you said you can't sleep." "Sarah, every night Liam calls for Ethan. I don't know how to tell him he's gone." "Grady, then let him forget. Memories fade if you stop feeding them." Sarah pressed a hand to her mouth. He recorded everything. Ethan fast-forwarded. In another clip, Grady stood beside Liam at an art table. Grady, let's draw your new family. Your mom, you, and me. Liam, but where's Dad? Grady, he's far away. He'd want you to be happy here. The little boy hesitated, then began to color. Ethan's knuckles whitened. He hit pause before the shaking in his hand showed. The next file was dated the week before Ethan came home. The camera pointed at Grady's desk. He was on the phone. Yes, the death notice looks official enough. She'll sign the guardianship next week. A second voice, muffled but clear enough, answered. Keep it quiet. We can't have another scandal like last time. Sarah looked up sharply. Another scandal? Ethan rewound, replayed the voice. It wasn't anyone they recognized, but the caller used a school district email in the header of the video software. He opened the metadata. The sender ID belonged to Principal H. Danner, the head of Lincoln Elementary. Sarah whispered. He wasn't working alone. Outside, thunder rumbled again, distant this time. Ethan copied the files to his drive. Tomorrow we go to the police. But as he reached to eject the flash drive, one last hidden folder appeared, its title blank. Inside was a single clip. He clicked it. The camera view showed Grady's hallway. Liam's voice came first. Mr. Grady, why are you locking the door? Then Sarah's voice from another room, muffled. Let us out. Grady's tone was calm, almost tender. We can't go back to him. It's better this way. The clip ended abruptly with the sound of footsteps, small ones running, then a door slamming. Sarah sobbed quietly. Ethan shut the laptop. For a long time they sat there, listening to the rain slide down the window. Finally, Ethan spoke. This isn't just about us anymore. If the principal helped cover this, there are other families. He packed the drive into his duffel, the same one that had crossed battlefields. Tomorrow, he said, we finish this. Liam stirred in his sleep, murmuring, Dad, are we safe now? Ethan glanced at the dark screen. Almost, buddy, he whispered. Almost. Outside, a car idled across the street, headlights dimmed. A silhouette sat inside, watching their window. The war he thought was over had just changed shape. Sunrise crawled over the horizon, dull and colorless after a night of rain. In the motel room, Ethan woke before the alarm. The air was still heavy with the smell of wet carpet and instant coffee. He glanced at the window, curtains drawn, but a faint glow leaked through the edges. He eased away from the bed where Liam slept curled against Sarah and checked outside. The same gray sedan sat across the parking lot, engine idling. No plates on the front bumper. A figure inside, motionless. Ethan's instincts clicked back into service mode. He noted angles, distance, exits, everything the soldier in him did automatically. He turned to Sarah. Get Liam ready. We're leaving now. She rubbed her eyes, confused. It's barely 6. Someone's out there watching us. The words cut through her fatigue. She pulled Liam close while Ethan gathered the flash drive and laptop. When they stepped into the misty morning air, the sedan's engine revved once, then rolled forward, slow, deliberate. Ethan walked Liam to the passenger side of the truck, never breaking eye contact with the windshield. The figure inside the car was a man in a dark coat, phone pressed to his ear. Ethan started the truck, tires splashing through puddles. As he turned onto the main road, the sedan followed. For miles, it kept the same distance. The highway stretched empty, bordered by soaked fields and power lines slicing the gray sky. Is it the police? Sarah asked. No lights. No plates. Ethan's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Whoever it is, they're not here to protect us. He reached into the glove box, found his old service flashlight, heavy enough to use as a weapon if needed. At the next gas station, he pulled in abruptly. The sedan slowed but didn't stop, continuing down the road. Ethan waited until it vanished over the hill before exhaling. Inside the gas station, fluorescent lights hummed. The clerk looked half asleep, scrolling his phone. Ethan bought coffee, glanced at the security monitor above the counter, and froze. The sedan was back, parked at the edge of the lot. The driver was filming the truck. He dialed Detective Ruiz. Straight to voicemail. Detective, it's Cole. Someone's following us. We have the footage from Grady's house. Backup copies. Please call back. He hung up, heart pounding. When he stepped outside, the sedan was gone again, only tire tracks in the puddles left behind. They drove another hour toward the county sheriff's office. Liam dozed in the back seat, head bobbing with each turn. Sarah stared out the window, whispering, "It doesn't end, does it?" Ethan kept his eyes on the road. "Not until we show the truth." Just as they reached the outskirts of town, a flash of blue lights appeared in the mirror. Police cruiser this time. Relief washed over Sarah. But when the cruiser pulled alongside them, Ethan's relief vanished. The driver wasn't Ruiz. It was Principal Danner. He rolled down his window, motioning for Ethan to pull over. Sarah's breath caught. "What's he doing?" "Stay calm," Ethan murmured, slowing. Danner stepped out, umbrella in one hand, badge clipped to his belt. "Captain Cole," he called pleasantly. "You've got something that belongs to the district. The drive, please." Ethan's pulse hammered. "That's evidence." Danner's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Evidence can be misinterpreted. Hand it over, and we can end this quietly." Rain began again, thin and cold. Ethan met Sarah's gaze through the windshield, both knowing silence would cost them everything. "No," Ethan said. "It ends when the truth's public." Danner sighed, stepping closer. "Then you'd better be ready for what comes next." Behind him, another car door opened, someone else emerging from the sedan that had been shadowing them all morning. Ethan shifted the truck into gear, muscles coiled. The road ahead stretched empty, slick, and waiting. The chase, it seemed, was just beginning. The rain thickened into silver curtains as Ethan's truck idled on the shoulder. Ahead, Principal Danner stood calm beneath his umbrella, the gray sedan idling behind him. The man who stepped out of the passenger side was unmistakable. Thomas Grady, wrists free, clothes changed, a faint bruise still dark on his jaw. Sarah gasped. "Hey, he was supposed to be in custody." Ethan's voice dropped. "Looks like custody's flexible when the principal signs the release." Danner called out, smooth as ever. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Hand over the drive, Captain. The department has protocols for sensitive material." The words department and protocols slid together like oil, too polished to be honest. Ethan glanced in the rearview mirror, Liam half awake in the back seat, confused but silent. Sarah buckled him in tight. She obeyed, hands trembling. Ethan rolled down his window just enough for his voice to carry. "You want the drive? Come get it." Then he slammed the truck into gear. The tires screeched, flinging arcs of water as the truck shot forward. Danner shouted, and the sedan lunged after them. Highway 14 cut through open farmland, puddles turning the asphalt slick. The windshield wipers beat a frantic rhythm. Sarah clutched the dash. "Ethan, they're gaining." "Hold on." He downshifted, engine growling. The truck fishtailed around a bend, mud spraying across the road. In the mirror, the sedan loomed, headlights glaring like twin eyes. Ethan's mind calculated distances, timing, terrain, the soldier resurfacing completely now. He spotted a narrow service road ahead, half hidden by reeds. At the last second, he swerved into it. The truck jolted violently, bouncing over gravel. The sedan followed, tires spinning. "They won't stop," Sarah cried. "Then we make them." Up ahead, a wooden bridge spanned a narrow flood channel. Ethan floored the gas, then braked hard halfway across. The truck skidded sideways, blocking the bridge. Danner's sedan rounded the curve too fast. The driver hit the brakes, hydroplaned, and clipped the railing. The car slewed to a stop just short of the truck's tailgate. Steam hissed from its hood. Ethan jumped out, rain pelting his face. "It's over," he shouted. "You try to hide this again, I swear every news station in the state gets that footage." Danner stepped out slowly, soaked but composed. "You think anyone will believe a soldier with a record of PTSD, complaints over an educator, and a respected charity director?" The words hit like a slap, but before Ethan could respond, Sarah opened her door, phone raised. "They will now," she said, pressing record. Grady moved first, lunging toward her. Ethan intercepted, forcing him back against the hood of the sedan. The scuffle was quick, desperate, but years of training gave Ethan the edge. Sirens wailed in the distance, real ones this time. Danner froze, calculation flickering across his face as blue lights crested the hill. Detective Ruiz's cruiser led the convoy. She stepped out, weapon drawn. Hands where I can see them. Danner's umbrella fell to the mud. Grady sagged, cuffed within seconds. Ruiz turned to Ethan. You okay? He nodded, breathing hard. The drive's in the truck. It has everything. Emails, recordings, the forged letters. Ruiz took it carefully. Then we can end this for good. Behind them, Liam peeked from the window, eyes wide but dry. Ethan lifted a hand, signaling it's done. Sarah reached for him, voice shaking with relief. We made it. Thunder rolled one last time over the fields, fading as police radios crackled to life. Ethan looked at the broken bridge, the sedan being towed, the flash drive sealed in evidence. For the first time, the storm inside him began to quiet. But deep down, he knew one thing. The truth hadn't just saved them. It had exposed something far bigger than Grady or Danner. And once truth sees daylight, it never goes back underground. 3 days later, the rain finally stopped. The sky above the county courthouse was pale and clean, the kind of blue that felt like a new beginning. Ethan Cole sat in the witness hallway, uniform pressed, hands folded around a paper cup of burnt coffee. Across the corridor, Sarah held Liam on her lap, whispering softly to keep him calm. The boy traced circles on her sleeve, innocent again in a way that made Ethan's chest ache. Beyond the double doors, murmurs from the courtroom drifted out, journalists, lawyers, detectives. The story had already spread. School principal and teacher arrested in forgery and child manipulation scandal. Every headline used different words, but all of them began with the same one, hero father. Ethan hated the word hero. Heroes came home to parades. He'd come home to an empty house and a crayon drawing that saved his child. The bailiff opened the door. Captain Cole, you're up. Inside, flashbulbs popped once before the judge's gavel silenced the room. Detective Ruiz gave him a nod from the front row. Danner and Grady sat side by side at the defense table, both in gray suits instead of prison orange. Image management, he thought grimly. Ethan took the stand. The prosecutor began gently. Captain Cole, can you tell the court how you obtained this evidence? Ethan described it step by step. The empty house, the drawing, the forged death notice, the camera, the flash drive. His voice never rose. He let the facts speak. Each sentence painted the picture again, one that no editing could soften. When he finished, the room was silent except for the sound of pens scratching. Then Danner's attorney tried to twist it. Mr. Cole, is it true you suffer from combat-related trauma? Could your perceptions have been exaggerated? Ethan looked straight at Danner. My trauma doesn't forge signatures or fake death certificates. Men like you do. A ripple moved through the gallery. The judge didn't bother to gavel it down. By afternoon, the verdict was read, guilty on all counts. Grady's composure cracked first. He shouted something about saving the boy as deputies pulled him away. Danner stayed silent, the polite smile finally gone. Outside the courthouse, cameras swarmed. Reporters called his name, but Ethan shielded Liam and guided him through the crowd. Sarah walked beside them, hand tight in his. What happens now, she asked. Ethan looked toward the horizon where sunlight spilled between clouds. Now we start living again. No more running. That evening they returned to the house on Maple Street. The power had been restored, the walls repainted. It smelled of new beginnings, fresh wood, clean linen, and rain drying on the porch. Liam tugged at his sleeve. Dad, can we hang this? He held up the drawing, the one that had started everything. Ethan smiled faintly. Yeah, right here. They pinned it above the mantel. For the first time, the paper didn't look like a cry for help. It looked like survival. Sarah stood beside him, whispering, I keep thinking, what if you hadn't found that drawing? He slipped an arm around her. Then he still would have found me. He always does. Liam giggled, climbing onto the couch between them. Because we're together again. Outside, the neighborhood lights flickered on. Mrs. Avery's porch light glowed across the street, steady and warm. Ethan looked at his family, the world finally quiet around them, and felt something he hadn't in years, peace. The war was over, and this time, he'd won without firing a single shot. A month passed. The world that had once spun out of control finally began to move at a human pace again. Every morning the sound of frying eggs replaced sirens. Sunlight slid through clean curtains, catching the frame drawing above the mantel. Ethan, Sarah, and Liam were still learning how to breathe the same air without fear. The day started like any other. Liam sat at the kitchen table, coloring a sunrise in bright oranges. Sarah hummed along to the radio while packing his lunch. Ethan watched them from the doorway, coffee mug warm in his hands. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like an intruder in his own house. Yet peace carried weight too. Every quiet moment reminded him how easily noise could return. The scars of the past weren't visible, but they lived in gestures. Sarah locking the door twice. Liam pausing whenever a car slowed outside. Ethan understood. Healing wasn't about forgetting. It was about learning that memory no longer had power. That afternoon, Detective Ruiz stopped by. She wore civilian clothes now, smiles softer than he remembered. The case closed yesterday, she said. Both men sentenced. Danner's appeal didn't last an hour. She handed him a thin envelope. Your statement, official commendation for assisting the investigation. Ethan looked at the paper, then folded it without reading. I didn't do it for medals. I know, Ruiz said. But sometimes recognition helps rebuild what people tried to destroy. Before leaving, she knelt beside Liam. You did the bravest thing, kiddo, drawing when words were too hard. Liam smiled shyly. Dad says drawings can tell the truth. He's right, Ruiz said. Keep telling it. That night, after Liam fell asleep, Sarah found Ethan sitting on the porch steps, the summer air heavy with crickets. You still can't sleep? She asked. He shook his head. Habit. When you're deployed, you learn to listen for what's missing. Silence can mean danger. She sat beside him. Or peace. For a while, they said nothing. Then she whispered, Do you forgive me? Ethan looked at her profile, tired eyes, strength returning piece by piece. There's nothing left to forgive. You believed what you were told. Now we start over. She exhaled, tears shining in the porch light. Then let's start. He reached for her hand, fingers lacing through hers, and for the first time the gesture didn't feel like memory. It felt like now. Inside, Liam stirred in his sleep, murmuring a dream. His drawing above the mantel fluttered in the breeze from the open window. On the back, Ethan had written 3 words in pencil that no one else had seen. We came home. Later, as dawn touched the street, Ethan stepped into the yard. The sky glowed pale gold, the same color Liam used in all his sunrises. He closed his eyes, listening, not for threats, but for life. The rustle of leaves, a child's distant laugh, Sarah's soft footsteps behind him. This was peace, he realized. Not the absence of storms, but the strength to stand after they pass. And for the first time since he'd left for war, Ethan Cole finally felt home. Spring came early that year. The trees along Maple Street were thick with new leaves, pale green and trembling in the wind. Everywhere in town, people talked about rebuilding. New classrooms, new rules, new trust. The scandal that had once filled the news had faded into memory, replaced by stories of change. Inside their home, Ethan Cole finished nailing the last frame on the hallway wall. It held a photograph of the 3 of them taken at the park the previous weekend. Liam on his shoulders, Sarah laughing, sunlight spilling across them. He stepped back, wiping sawdust from his hands. For months he'd repaired what the storm had broken, doors, windows, the fence. But the real repair had been quieter. Bedtime stories, slow dinners, small jokes that made Liam's laughter return to its old, free sound. That afternoon, they walked to the river. Liam carried a kite painted like the sunrise from his old drawing. He ran ahead, shouting, Higher, Dad, higher. The wind caught the fabric, lifting it clean into the sky. Ethan held the spool, feeling the pull, strong, steady, alive. Sarah watched them from grass. When he looked back at her, she smiled the kind of smile that had once belonged to another life. The space between them no longer felt fragile. They sat together while Liam chased the kite's shadow. Do you ever think about what happened? She asked. Ethan nodded. Every day. But not the fear, just what it taught me. And what's that? That coming home isn't about crossing a border. It's about being ready to stay. She leaned against him. Then we finally made it home. Evening settled slowly. Liam grew sleepy, the kite string coiling at his feet. Ethan lifted him into his arms. Half dreaming, the boy whispered, "No more bad guys?" Ethan smiled. "No more bad guys." As they reached the porch, the streetlights flickered on, bathing the house in warm gold. A new mailbox gleamed by the gate. The old one, dented from that night of rain, now sat in the garage, a reminder, not a wound. Inside, Sarah tucked Liam into bed. He murmured a single request before drifting off. "Leave the window open. I like the sound of the rain." Ethan left it cracked, listening as a soft drizzle began, gentle this time, like the earth breathing. Later, he stood at the mantel. The drawing still hung there, but it had changed again. Liam had added a fourth figure, a small dog they'd adopted last week, tail wagging beneath a bright yellow sun. Ethan laughed quietly. He thought of the words he'd written on the back, "We came home," and realized they no longer marked an ending, but a promise. No more ghosts, no more running, just the quiet work of living. He turned off the lights, Sarah's footsteps padding behind him, and together they watched the rain slide down the windows. In that hush, with his family safe and the world finally steady, Ethan whispered the only words that mattered. "We're home, for good."